The correct belief in Allah. To avoid confusion, the correct creed will be discussed before discussing their incorrect creed. Know that Allah exists differently from anything else. His self is His reality and not a body. He alone is without a beginning because no one created Him. He is the only creator. He exists everlastingly and does not change. He is perfect. Before creating the creations, He existed without them. He existed before the skies or the Arsh existed. And He now exists as He eternally existed, without those creations affecting or changing Him. He is alive without a body or soul, and without needing sustenance. He is knowledgeable without a teacher, and does not learn or forget. He possesses the perfect knowledge of everything, and the creations exist only as He knew they would. He has power to bring anything possible from non-existence into existence. He creates without tools and without getting weak or sleepy. He has the eternal and everlasting will, by which He specified His creations with particular places, directions, shapes, colors, times, changes, movements, stability, hardships, ease, choice, and will, the created will. And everything else He eternally willed for His creations. His management is unhindered and uninterrupted. He cannot be distracted because He does not have limbs. That means the one who gets distracted, it's because he has limbs. And so the person should not text and drive at the same time. He has no partner, wife, parent, son, branch, origin, nor opposite. He does not need anything, not a space to occupy, nor time to bind Him. He has no partner, wife, parent, son, branch, origin, nor opposite. He does not need anything, not a space to occupy, nor time to bind Him. He is not benefited nor harmed by His creatures. He eternally sees and hears everything without eyes or ears, without looking into a direction, without needing volume, that means how loud it is, without needing volume or sound waves, without needing light, time, or space. Nothing is hidden from Him. He speaks with His eternal kalam, speech, without it being of a letter, sound, or language. It is not the result of organs touching or air moving, like when you talk and your tongue touches the palate and your lips come together and the air is going back and forth. And it does not come from any direction. Allah does not resemble anything in the universe. He is not composed of particles, pieces, nor does He have the characteristics of particles, such as color, shape, place, motion, stillness, texture, temperature, etc. He is neither inside nor outside of something. He's not inside of something, and He's not outside of something, since those are places for bodies. If something is inside, then it's a body. If something is outside, then it's a body. He is not in a particular place, nor is he everywhere. He exists without being in any place. He does not have the attributes of the creations. The creations are not parts or attributes of Allah. All of his attributes are eternal and everlasting. They are not organs or emotions. Since his self is eternal, his attributes cannot be created. He is different from whatever is imagined. Let there be no doubt that this is the correct belief in him, the mighty Lord with the perfect names. The Wahhabis attribute a body to Allah. The focus of our discussion will be the Wahhabis' disbelief in the attributes of Allah. They claim Tawheed, but they really believe in Tajseem, attributing bodily attributes to Allah. Their belief is that Allah has attributes whose linguistic meanings refer to the attributes of a body. This means that the meanings they choose to ascribe to Allah are meanings that imply a bodily reference, like organs, places, and motion. Meaning, even if they don't use the word body, notice the word meanings. They intend particular bodily definitions when they use certain words. Let whoever talks to one of them pay attention not only to the words they use, but also to the meanings they intend. They believe that Allah has a real face that should be understood literally. They believe that he has two real eyes and that he actually smiles, these are their own words, and laughs. Their grandfather Ibn Taymiyyah claimed that Allah spoke after he was not speaking. They believe that Allah speaks Arabic, claiming that whenever Allah creates, he literally says, kun, be. They say that Allah is attributed with a very real pair of hands that must be understood as stated, and that Allah really holds creations in them. They believe that he has a real right hand and a real left hand, and some said he only has two right hands, because a left would not befit him. They believe that Allah has real fingers, but they may have different opinions about how many. At least they would say he has two, and some may say 6. They have been known to say that Allah sits on his arsh, but it seems that was too easy to refute, so they reverted to saying that he is above his arsh. Meaning, they made it a little more abstract. They focus on attributing places and directions to him. They say he is above, and they mean it in the physical sense. They hate for someone to claim that his highness is majestic and not physical. They claim that he is above the 7 skies, above the arsh, the ceiling of paradise. They believe that Allah is separate from his creations, disconnected from them, existing in a very high location. Some of them say that Allah is above the arsh and there is no place there. What they mean is he's so high that he is where there's no place. They do not see this as drawing similarities between Allah and his creations. Some of them said that Allah exists in the sky, but perhaps those who say that he is above his arsh have overtaken them, or they are more dominant among them, to say that Allah is over his arsh. But you might encounter someone who says, Allahu fis sama, Allah is in the sky. Some may say that Allah is above the arsh by a 4-fingered spaced distance. They believe that Allah descends from above the arsh down to the first sky and then ascends back up. that Allah comes and goes, so that they believe that Allah moves from one place to another. But they might not say from one place to another. Those words probably they won't say. Furthermore, they bind Allah by time, believing that He descends during the last third of the night, and that He is above the arsh during the day. They believe that Allah has a shin and a real foot, which will be submersed in the fire of hell on the day of judgment. They even believe that Allah will cast a shadow on that day. They firmly believe that all of these so-called attributes must be taken by their real, literal, apparent, and obvious meanings. As can be seen, when using the name Allah, they refer to something imaginary. Compare this to the correct belief mentioned in the previous section and easily see that they do not believe in God. What we say about Allah, that He exists with no place and no space and no form or shape, they say this is impossible. You are denying. They say to us, you are denying the existence of Allah, which means that actually they are denying the existence of Allah. Let whoever meets one of these deviant people not be intimidated, nor should he underestimate every one of them until he masters this book. Some Wahhabis study and memorize, ready to bombard their opponent. But this book should give you the answer for every trick they have up their sleeves. The point of mentioning their belief without mentioning their so-called proof is to expose the result of their analysis. They misinterpreted many verses and hadiths to establish their beliefs, and this is the result. The author said the Wahhabi reasoning behind their incorrect belief. Question 12. Do the Wahhabis actually say that Allah has a body? What complicates the issue is that they usually deny that they believe that Allah has a body. On the contrary, they usually say that they do not believe that He has a body. However, some of them say that they do not confirm whether He has a body or not, which is still blasphemy. Some of them might say that He has a body, but then would say that they do not know how His body is, which also does not escape blasphemy. So you have three cases here. So we're talking about here a real true Wahhabi. We're not talking about someone who calls himself a Salafi and he doesn't know what Wahhabis say. An actual Wahhabi who believes what they believe. So if you confront him about believing that Allah has a body, you'll get three cases. Most likely he'll say, no, I don't believe that Allah has a body. Some of them will say, I won't say if He's a body or He's not a body. And that's kufr. We'll prove it, inshallah. And some of them will confess, and they will say his body is not like our body. If they deny that Allah has a body, it is because they understand that they would be clearly admitting that He is like His creations. So they don't want to say it. They won't be explicit about it. Taking this position may be the case of most of them. Despite this denial, it is known that they secretly believe that Allah has a body. And this is what the scholars said about them. That their belief in Allah being a body is their secret. Despite this denial, it is known that they secretly believe that Allah has a body because they hate for someone to say that He has no place or direction. And they think that denial of place and direction is denial of His existence. Had that been true, then where was Allah before He created places and directions? Before He created places and directions, there were none. There's no other answer. So He must have been existing without them. So had they really believed that Allah is not a body, then why are they so mad when someone says Allah exists without a place? Well, he will say, because Allah didn't say that. Allah said, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa. So you see, it does believe that Allah has a body, but he won't come out and say it. We will come to all of that, insha'Allah ta'ala. If they do not confirm whether Allah has a body or not, it is because they do not want to explicitly liken Allah to his creations, but at the same time, they do not want to reject their literal meanings. Because in their hearts, they know that they describe a body. You see, this is the next one. The one who's not going to take a position. He will not confirm or deny. He stays neutral. Why? Because he doesn't want to come out and liken Allah to the creation explicitly. But also he doesn't want to reject the literal meanings, which he knows that he's describing a body. So he won't commit. He will not commit to a saying. This is still blasphemy, since being neutral and saying, I do not say if Allah has a body or not, is similar to doubting about Allah. It is lack of certainty, yaqeen, and lack of certainty is blasphemy. Being neutral is kufr. You have 4 things, brothers and sisters. 3 of these 4 things are kufr, and only one of them is iman. One of them is inkar, that means denial, flat out denial. That's kufr. Then you have shak. Shak is doubt, means you're not sure. That's kufr. Then you have tawaqquf. Tawaqquf is being neutral, means you're not committing. You will not say one way or the other. You don't commit to anything. One side or the other. That's kufr. Why? Because all these 3 are not the other last thing, which is yaqeen. Yaqeen is certainty. Yaqeen is certainty. A person, if he's not taking a position and he has no certainty, so that's kufr. It is the same as saying, I do not say if Allah exists or not, or I do not say if Allah has a partner or not. The one who doubts or is neutral about any attribute of Allah that is known by necessity, such as his knowledge, power, the fact that he does not resemble the creations, etc., is not a Muslim. As mentioned by the great Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the heads of the real Salaf, in his book Al-Wasiyyah, he said, مَنْ اعْتَقَدَ حُدُوثَ صِفَةٍ مِّن صِفَاتِ اللَّهِ أَوْ شَكَّ أَوْ تَوَقَّفَ كَفَرَ. Whoever believed in the createdness of an attribute among the attributes of Allah, or doubted, or was neutral, has disbelieved. Take, for example, the verbatim statement of Ibn Uthaymeen in his book Al-Liqa al-Shahri. He said, Al-mutakallimu bil-lughati yatakallamu bil-lisan. أما الرب عز وجل فلا يجوز أن نثبت له اللسان ولا أن ننفيه لأنه لا علم لنا بذلك. He said, the one who speaks a language does so by a tongue. As for the Lord Azza wa Jal, it is not permissible for us to confirm a tongue for him, nor to deny it from him, for we have no knowledge of that. So that's not the aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah. Ahlul Sunnah doesn't believe like that. This is deviant talk. Wal-'iyadhu billahi ta'ala. Whoever considers it possible for Allah to have a body, even if he did not believe that Allah actually has a body, he said maybe, it could be. I won't say yes, I won't say no. He would blaspheme for deeming it possible. The less intelligent among them might shamelessly confess that he believes that Allah has a body, because it is obvious that they describe a body. But they would say that his body is not like ours, or that they do not know how his body is. They would say his body is not like our body, or they would say we don't know how his body is. As for saying that his body is not like ours, according to the great Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the Salafi scholar whom they often claim to follow, whoever says that Allah has a body unlike other bodies blasphemes. He said, Man qala Allahu jismun la kal ajsami kafar. In his book, The Creed of the Distinguished Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Abu al-Fadl at-Tamimi, the head of the Hanbali scholars in Baghdad, said, so before we give the quote, let's clarify what we're talking about here. All right. So we talked about the one who said Allah is not a body. He denied that Allah is a body, yet he hates when you say Allah exists without a place, Allah exists without a direction. Allah is not a shape or form or color. Allah does not have body parts. Allah does not have pieces. He hates when you say that, but he denies that Allah has a body. We talked about that one. Then we talked about the one who's neutral. He won't say he has a body or he doesn't have a body. Now we're talking about the one who will actually say yes, but it's not like our body, or we don't know how his body is. He might not say the word yes also. You may say to him, for example, you're saying Allah has a body, and he would say, we don't know how his body is. Or he would say, his body is not like our body. As for saying that his body is not like ours, Imam Ahmad said that whoever says that commits kufr. From a book called Aqidatul Imam al-Mubajjal, The Creed of the Distinguished Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, by Abu al-Fadl at-Tamimi. In this book, he conveys the creeds of Imam Ahmad. What was confirmed about Imam Ahmad in his statements of Aqidah. And who is he? Abu al-Fadl at-Tamimi. He is the head of the Hanbali scholars in Baghdad. Recognized by Ibn Taymiyyah. Inshallah, we'll get the quote. We'll get the quote of Ibn Taymiyyah about those Tamimis that we're talking about. Abu Fadl at-Tamimi and his father also. So what did he say, this one who's recognized by Ibn Taymiyyah? And he was the head of the Hanbali scholars in Baghdad. In his book in which he conveys the creeds of Imam Ahmad. He said, Ahmad objected to those who call Allah a body and said, the names of things are taken from the language and the religious law. The linguists defined the jism, body, as that which has length, width, depth, composition, and image. And it, the term jism, did not come in the religious law, so it is inapplicable. Inshallah, we'll insert the Arabic here. So, still a draft. He said, Ahmed objected to those who call Allah a body and said, the names of things, of all sorts of things, right? When you think of the name of something, don't just think of like a proper name, like someone's name might be Sam or Rob, but the names of things are like pencil. Pencil is the name of some type of thing. Cup, house, like that, river, cloud, these words. He said the names of things, where do they come from? They are taken from the language and the religious law. There's for us two sources for the names of things. We take them from the language. So, for example, Arabic language came with a word, asad. This word is in the Arabic language, asad, and it came with a meaning. It refers to that predator, that known predator, which is the lion. So the name of that creature is known from the language. And the names of things are known from the religious law, like Al-Kawthar, the river that's in paradise. How do we know the name of that river in paradise? Al-Kawthar. It came in the religion. Or the tree of Zaqqum in hell, right? Or all sorts of things. Sidratul Muntaha, that tree in the seventh sky. Or the Arsh, which is the ceiling of paradise. How do we know the ceiling of paradise is called Al-Arsh? So the names of things are taken from the language and the religious law. The linguists defined the jism, body, as that which has length, width, depth, composition, and image. And it, meaning the term jism, did not come in the religious law. So, jism, what does it mean in the language? It means something that has length, width, and depth, and other things, composition, etc. So the word jism, if we look from the perspective of language, this is what it means. And we can't attribute that to Allah. So how about from the religion? Did we find it in any of the religious texts? He said it did not come in the religious law. So it is inapplicable to Allah. The word jism, body, is inapplicable. Because it means that he doesn't believe that Allah is a body. It means Imam Ahmad doesn't believe like those people believe. He's not just saying these words while he believes like them. You see, if you understand this statement, it's clear. Imam Ahmad clears Allah from time and from place, and from direction. So as for saying that we do not know how his body is, that's what they would say. It is blasphemous to say. It is blasphemous to say that they do not know how his body is. It's correct. That is blasphemy also, because they're saying he has a body. That's blasphemy. And they're saying he has a how. And the scholars of Islam have made it very clear that besides the fact that Allah has not a body, how cannot be attributed to him. Throughout the books of the Sunni scholars, you would find that they said about Allah and his attributes, bila kayf, without a how, meaning without a manner of being, without a mode, without a way. Thus, to say that they do not know how he is to say that there is a how, but it is unknown to them. Saying that the how of his body and their claim is unknown does not negate the fact that they believe that he has a body. Just as saying the door is open but I do not know how does not negate the fact that the door is open. Likewise, they say, we don't know how he sits or how he descends, or how his hands or eyes are, etc. What this truly means is that they do not know if he is sitting, as they say, Indian style, or like one sits in the prayer, and they do not know if he descends head first, or feet first, or like a belly flop, or a cannonball, or if he has a human hand or a monkey hand or an eye on the chin or on the forehead, etc. This is what it means when they say we don't know how is his hands, we don't know how his eyes are, we don't know how his face is. So if one of them says we do not know how, tell him that the scholars of the real Salaf have agreed that there is no how for him, which is a categoric negation of any mode or fashion or manner of being, as narrated from the likes of Salama, the Prophet's wife. She said, وَالْكَيْفُ غَيْرُ مَعْقُولٍ. The how, being attributed to him, is not rational. Similar to that was reported about Malik and Rabi'ah ibn Abi Abd al-Rahman. If Allah willed, this point will be revisited in the section, The Truth About Istiwa. These people may have never learned the correct belief, so when they learned their incorrect belief and they became attached to it, they developed a warped logic. Their thinking is based on an unsound premise that Allah is attributed with these human attributes, while they don't acknowledge them as being human or realize what they are imagining. They also have other horrendous and contradictory claims which need not be mentioned now. We're focusing. As a result, their thinking became twisted, like the Christians who say that Allah is one and is three while he is one. The Wahhabis believe that Allah has these human attributes, such as motion, organs, places, and directions, yet they claim that they believe that Allah is not similar to his creations. The Wahhabis believe that Allah has these human attributes. Well, let's take out the word human then. The Wahhabis believe that Allah has these attributes, such as motion, but they're not going to use the word motion, such as motion, organs, places, and directions. But all those words they're not going to use. Yet they claim that they believe that Allah is not similar to his creations. This is clearly unsound and incorrect. So we'll stop there then. That's plenty, inshallah, for tonight.